is the name of the series we are in. Continuum. And we've been talking about how the Bible is one big continuum. One big story, yes. It is one long story. And just to remind you guys of kind of where we're going through the Bible, hitting various key things. We talked about creation and how in the beginning, God created us to create. Excellent. All right, this side, you guys are awake. This side, need some love over here. Need to wake you guys up. We were created to create. And then Apollo talked the next week on how humanity was dumb and sin entered the world and we were separated from God. But that wasn't it. Because even though we were separated from God, God connected to this one guy named Father Abraham. Father Abraham had many. There you go. God connected to Abraham and said, through you, I'm going to reconnect with the world. And Abraham grew into a whole nation, and those people were called the Israelites. All right, our juices warming up a bit. They were called the Israelites, and the Israelites were God's people for several thousand years. And then several thousand years later, this guy comes on the scene. You might have heard of him. His name is Jesus. Have you ever heard of Jesus? Okay. Most of us. Well, that's pretty good. He's only the most influential person in the entire history of humanity. But by the end of today, you will know who Jesus is. Though when it comes to Jesus, people have some interesting views of Jesus, right? Some people kind of think Jesus was a good man. Some people think Jesus was God. Some people kind of have some weird perceptions about Jesus. You might even think, I don't know exactly who this Jesus character is. He might be a little, I don't really know. I want to show you a video, and I feel like this video encaptures what a lot of the world views how Jesus actually is. And see if you agree with me. I think the world views Jesus like this. Take a look.
Here he comes. Well, all right. Now it's time for me to tell you all what you've done wrong since I last saw you. And don't try and hide because I am Jesus. I will find you. Let's start with you, Peter. You lied to your mother the other day. Andrew, you said a naughty word when you hit your finger with the hammer. James, you laughed at him when he hit his finger. Moving right along, John, you drank too much wine the other night. Not way too much, just enough to make me angry. Matthew, we fell asleep in church, didn't we? Yes, we did. And Thomas, you were slow dancing a little too close with that girlfriend of yours. Let's see. And you, I forgot your name, so you're off the hook for now. Philip, I saw you smoking a cigarette behind that big rock the other day. Thaddeus, I hate to say I saw you stick up your middle finger so when you cut you off you were riding a camel. Benjamin, I'm wearing your WWJD bracelet. Jacob, I don't mind you saying my name, but not after you stub your toe. Frank, you know what you did. I just can't repeat it because I'm Jesus. All right, all you sinners, come with me. It's time to pay the piper.
There's only one cigarette.
I've heard that. Look at all these sinners. All right, listen up. Listen to me. I'm Jesus. Listen to what I have to say. I have done many wonderful things. I have healed many people of diseases. I have performed many miracles so that I can tell you this. You're all evil. There is no hope. That's it. Thank you.
This is how many people, your friends, our family, this is how they view Jesus. How many of you guys know someone that kind of sees Jesus like this or similar to like this? Yeah. All right. Who is this Jesus character really? Because though he might look like that in many of our minds, And though you may not say, I don't really think Jesus is like that, deep down, we kind of treat Jesus as like that. Who really is this Jesus character? Who really is this Jesus character? In his life, Jesus taught a lot of various sermons, but there was one in particular that was of extra importance. Bible people call it the Sermon on the Mount. Today we're just going to call it the sermon, because that's the only one we're talking about. So Jesus, he gave this one specific sermon, and in it he gave Christians, or the who would become Christians, ways to live their life. And I was kind of thinking, if the God of the universe is deciding to teach a sermon, I imagine it would be worth listening to, or at least reading out of your Bible. So I read it, and I analyzed it, and we're going to talk a little about it. This whole sermon that's from the book of Matthew that we're pulling from, you can think of it like a Christian manifesto, or like something that you can understand, but it's something as a follower of Christ you need to enact, you need to do. So if you're looking to say, well, who is this Jesus character? How am I supposed to respond? Read these verses, because it was spoken directly to you, directly to the people that were to be his followers. One of the things in particular that he says, Matthew 5:3, he said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is one that you might have heard of before, and you're kind of reading through, and you're like, okay, great. Blessed are the poor in spirit. I don't know who the poor in spirit are. There's the kingdom of heaven. I know what the kingdom of heaven is. Okay, move on. But this teaches us a lot about our life. Because what I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, have experienced is some hardship in life, some struggles, some trials, some pain, some suffering. And even after you've decided to follow Christ, you still have struggles, hardships, pain, suffering. And you're like, well, I thought when I became a Christian, I thought that all these were going to go away. But Jesus said, blessed are those in the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Here's another way of reading that. Blessed are those who are crushed, because you are in the place where God reigns. Blessed are you when you are hurting, when you are suffering, when you are going through it, when your parents are in the middle of a divorce, when you don't know what to do, when it seems like nothing's happening. Blessed are you, because this is the world that God reigns in. This is what he's teaching to his followers. This is what he's teaching to us now. And so his sermon starts here. He's addressing the followers. He's addressing people like you and me, saying, here is how you need to live your life. Here's what you need to think about. He's not saying everything is going to be rosy and peachy and dandy and you're never going to have problems again. He's saying, you are going to be crushed, because there's things in life that are crushing. People hurt people. That's okay, because in this place is where God reigns. In this place, there is hope. Life is not promised to be easy. Rather, God promises to be with us in the difficult times. He promises to not let us go through it alone. We have a responsibility as followers of Christ to continue on from this, to be equipped, to continue to learn and develop, and to help those around us develop. And so his sermon continues. And in one particular part of his sermon, he talks about two kinds of people. Two kinds of people are the wise and the foolish. There are wise people and there are fools in the world. I think that's interesting. Jesus calls some people wise and he calls other people fools. Jesus called someone a fool? We'll find out. So, I'm going to take a minute. How would you describe a wise person versus a fool? And with that, can I have someone who can help me marker on the board who has good handwriting? You have good handwriting? No. You have good, who has good handwriting? You have good handwriting? You tall enough to reach the top? Let's get Anthony. You can help me out a little later in the message, okay? I'll get you. Anthony, thank you. All right. Let's split the board in half. Let's split the board in half, and we have wise and we have foolish. So before we do this, talk with someone next to you and come up with a few things of what you think a wise person is and what you think a foolish person is. Take 1 minute to talk about it with someone next to you. A wise person and a fool.
This guy's a wise person.
Follow. A wise man builds his house on the rock. A foolish man builds his house under the rock.
All right. So what are, you have to write quickly, Anthony, you have to write quickly. What are some examples of a wise, what are some examples of a wise person? A wise person.
Josh.
Smart. All right, a wise person is smart. You can write that. What else? What do you think, Melissa? Examples of a wise person. Kind, okay. Someone who's kind. Josh.
A wise person buys Apple.
A wise person? Wise person buys Apple computers. Macintosh. All right, what else? Other examples of a wise person?
There'd be no need for wisdom if no one bit the fruit.
What was that? Prepared. Good. Prepared. Yeah? What do you say? Honest. Prepared. Honest. Serious. Takes stuff serious. Is serious. Believes in Jesus. Yeah, Leo? Responsible. Ruben. What was that? Listens. Escucha. Listen. Reading Proverbs. So, reader, good. All right, yeah?
Wise
Knowledgeable.
man has a good virus.
Responsible. One more time. Knows and lives the word. Getting in. All right, what are some examples of a foolish person? What do you think a fool does? Dumb. Good. Nothing. Doesn't take anything seriously.
Buys into the zombified culture of Apple.
Doesn't know anything. Not a believer. What she said. Any other examples of fool? Yeah. Doesn't think. Doesn't think. Yeah.
Finds their identity in material
One more
things.
time. Has no trust. Wasteful. Garbage. Wasteful, yeah. Thinks he's always perfect. Any other examples of foolish? Speaks before thinking. I think that illustrates it very well. Carlo.
An abacadarian.
One more time.
An abacadarian.
I can't hear you.
Abacadarian. Abacadarian. It's someone,
Abacadarian?
yeah, someone who's still learning the alphabet.
Okay. Yeah. Sinful. All right. These are some good examples. We
Finds their
have
identity
wise
in
people and
physical
foolish
things,
people,
like a computer.
and these are some of our definitions of wise and foolish.
Josh. Finds their
Let's
identity
give
in
Anthony
physical
a
things,
hand for thinking, for helping us out.
like a computer.
Okay. So we have wise people and foolish people, our interpretations. Let's see what Jesus has to say. This is section number 1, hashtag number 1 from Jesus, a word to the wise. All right, you guys ready? A word to the wise? If you want to be wise, this is what Jesus says. Let's read that verse. Everyone then who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on rock. The rain fell, the floods came, and the winds blew and beat on that house, but it did not fall because it had been founded on rock. Everyone who hears these words and acts on them is like a wise man. Hearing and acting. There are 2 components to this. First, you need to hear. Are you guys listening? Let's see if you're listening. Very good. First you need to hear, and then you need to act. In the Old Testament, the word to hear and act and respond, they were the same words. So there was always this connotation that it's not just about hearing, but you got to listen, and then you got to do something about it. Then Jesus goes on and gives this analogy of, it's like building your house on a rock. It's like establishing on a firm foundation. Well, the next question that I would ask is, okay, well, how do I build my house on the rock? He says, listen to my words. Some of the words that he just spoke earlier in that sermon were, don't be anxious, trust in me. He says, don't judge others, or you yourself will be judged. He says, ask, seek, and knock, and pursue God. He says, build your house around me. Establish yourself in something solid, because all other ground will sink away. But it's hard to do that. It's hard to follow Jesus' words. I can't do it. It's too difficult. Blessed are those who are crushed, because you are in the place where God reigns. Even when it's hard, you are in that place where God reigns. All right, here's the second thing. Hashtag 2. Give me a little hashtag. Hashtag 2. There you go. From Jesus. I pity the fool, he says. Say it with me. I pity the fool. All right, there's like 10 people. Give one more time. I pity the fool. All right. Here's what a foolish person does. Verse 26. Verse 26. And everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like the foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain fell and the floods came and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell. And great was its fall. Notice. They heard, but they didn't act. They heard, but they didn't act. They sat in a chair on Sunday morning and listened to the words of Jesus, but they did nothing. When times got rough, when the storm came, when people came against them, when that boy who should have been talking to you because he's bad business came up to you, when that girl came around, when situations in life came up, they fell. You see, the foundation was weak. They washed away. And great was its fall. All because they listened, but didn't hear. Can I have you come up, bud, and help me? Can you hold these for me? All right. So, how many of you guys like sports? Can you take this shirt off? You guys like sports? All right. I'm a Sharks fan. Do we have any Sharks fans in the house? Right. Do we have any people who are also in mourning because they blew the game last night? All right. Well, I'm a Sharks fan, and so I enjoy the Sharks. And with that, I have some Sharks gear. Any of you guys have Sharks gear? Yeah? Cool. Well, as a Sharks fan, I can buy their swag and put it on. How many of you guys like to buy Sharks swag and put it on? Good. I can buy their swag and put it on, but you know what? I can go a step farther. I can buy their jersey and put it on. I can wear a Sharks jersey. Wear a Sharks jersey, put it on, have good. I can strut their cap. Fit for streets. All right, let's give our helper a hand. Thank you. can strut their stuff that I got for free when I went and visited one of their games. I can cheer in the crowd. I can go to the games and I can yell. And I can even talk in the communal person and say, hey, we won tonight. We're doing a great job. We're going to make it to the Stanley Cups. But at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I'm not a player. I don't practice with the team. I don't listen to the coach's messages. I don't go out with them. I don't do all the hard stuff, the preparation, the work. I show up and I cheer and I root. As a Sharks fan, I can even read off the stats of all the players. I can memorize everything there is to memorize. But that doesn't make me a hockey player. Wearing this hat, wearing this jersey, it's not what does it. It's practicing, showing up to the games, playing, being part of the team. That's what makes me a hockey player. My question is, what kind of a Christian are you? Are you one who sits in the audience and cheers from behind the glass? You have the right clothes, you have the right hat. Or one who works hard to play in the game, who preps in the off-season, who listens to the coach, who reads the manual, who studies the plays. As a follower of Christ, life won't be easy. If you've ever been on a team, you know that being on that team isn't easy. You've got to work hard. You've got to learn. You've got to show up. You've got to commit. There's a lot of investment in that. But you see, when it comes to life, I don't want easy. I want purpose. I think too often we're looking for handouts. We're looking for Christianity to be something that'll just make everything nice and pretty. What I want to tell you is, I don't want Christianity to be nice and pretty. I don't care about it being nice and pretty. I want to have purpose. I want to live a life with meaning. I want to do something that matters in life. I don't want to be just another fan in the crowd. Sometimes we get so accustomed to sitting in the crowd that we forget we were invited to join the game in the first place. Have you ever been sitting on the sideline? This has happened to me before. Someone says, hey, do you want to come and play? No, I'm okay, I don't want to play. So then they start playing right in front of you. And for the next 10 minutes, you watch them. You begin thinking, I'd really like to play with them. I think that looks like fun. But I can't go now. I already told them no. And so you sit there, upset that you're not playing with them when you want to be playing with them because they asked you and you said no. Have you ever had that experience? All right. I asked Pastor Reese last night, I was like, am I the only one this ever happened to? And she said, no, that happens to me. I'm like, all right. It's not too late. You can join the game. But Pastor Scott, you don't know what I've been through. I've been through these struggles. It's been hard. It's been awkward. I have to get out of my comfort zone. I have to step out, and it's difficult. I agree. It is difficult. And it is hard. So for that reason, I'm going to bring someone up. You see her every week. You probably don't realize all that she has been through to get to here today. Hear her story and see if it inspires you to listen and act. Please welcome Miss Renita to the stage. Tommy, can you run up a second mic for me? Sit on this one. Okay, so I'm going to ask Renita a few questions. You guys might have seen her around, but you might not know some of the details about her story. And so I'm going to ask her a little bit. Renita, tell us a little bit about where you were born.
I was born in a small city named Urmia in country of Iran.
Okay, and why was Iran so dangerous for you as a child?
Iran is governed and controlled by Islamic government and is a Muslim country, so for them any other religion is a big no-no. Everybody has to be a Muslim and everybody has to follow their religion and their saying. So me being born in a Christian family, it was kind of dangerous being in that kind of a country.
So tell me what would happen to Christians in Iran?
The Christians were in trouble and they were known as unclean people And if we would go out there and we would talk about Jesus, they would get caught, they would get tortured, and at the end of the day, they would kill Christians. And we had so many of our Christians that had got killed by the government, so it wasn't easy.
So even your pastor, he was killed.
Our senior pastor in a city, which was a capital, he got caught after one of the services, and he was taken. We didn't know where he was for like 3 weeks, and after that, unfortunately, I don't want to say it, but he was cut in pieces and he was thrown in front of his house. So, yeah, he was killed really, really in a bad way that he wasn't supposed to.
So how did you get around even just life as a Christian? What did you have to do to even go from one place to the next?
It was hard. When I was a teenager, just as many of you, and I would walk from home to church about 10 minutes, and there were people actually watching our church. They knew our name, they knew where we were living, and they were watching our going in and walking out of church. So every time that I would go to church, I knew people are watching me, and I didn't know whether they're going to just like catch me and throw me in a car and take me, or they're just going to leave me alone and let me go to church and do my service. So it was pretty scary.
So why would you go to church knowing that you could be killed at any moment?
When I accepted Christ as my Savior, I knew I had a calling. I knew I had to do something, and that was a commitment that I made because I wanted to share who God was, and I wanted to serve Him, and I wanted to be in the ministry. So day after day, I did say to myself, I had a choice just to sit home and do nothing, but I wanted to go there, and I did, and it was the fact that I wanted to serve God, and I wanted to be in the game for Him and do something for God, who died for me, who gave His life for me, and who did all these amazing things for me. I wanted to do something. I wanted to live for Him, so. As I got 20 years old, I finished college, and I didn't get to university because of our religion, and I made a choice. I started going to church more often. It was only Sundays, and I started, because I had nothing to do, I started going on Wednesdays, I started going on Fridays, I got more involved, and as I would leave the house in the morning, my parents wouldn't know if I would go back or not, and we didn't have cell phones back there, so I would get to church from the church office, I would call Mom, hey Mom, I'm at church, so okay. But then if I was late coming home, they would get worried, and by the time when my dad asked me whether I want to go in or I would stop going to church, they knew that I wouldn't stop it. They knew that I was going to go to church no matter what. And my dad and my mom, they were like, and I started actually taking my brothers to Sunday school with me. So they saw the danger, not only for me, but for my brother and for my family. And my dad decided that we need to leave. We can't stay here, because apparently they couldn't stop me of going to church. So we left everything behind, our house, jobs, and everything, school. We left everything behind, and we made our way to U.S. So we had to do it. And we did.
Let me get this straight. You're eating up. There's craziness happening. People are killing Christians. You say, I don't care. I'm going to go to church anyways.
Right.
You leave, and you know that they might kill you. I don't care. I'm going to go anyways.
Right.
Then start bringing your siblings because they need to hear Jesus.
Right.
You know, if you kill them, you say, I don't care. I'm going to go anyways. And finally, your parents say, we need to bring her to a safe place. Am I catching that right?
Yes.
Is that a crazy story or what? All right. So now you're in America. How are things different, and what is it like when you get to just freely come to church here?
Wow, it's amazing. Like, knowing that no one's watching me and I can go to church freely anytime I want, any day I want. It's just a feeling that it's great, like, especially when it comes to worship, because back then, like in Iran, we couldn't like sing loud. We had to be very low, and we only had an acoustic guitar over there. But when I'm here, I see like drums playing and guitars playing, people are worshiping. I'm like, it's just a feeling that I can't stop it. Like if I don't do anything now with that freedom that I'm given, it's like I'm not giving back to God. So it's just amazing feeling, especially we were in camp, we were jumping there in a jungle for God. It was just like, wow, I can't do anything because I have that freedom. So it's an amazing feeling. Like every day when I get, I'm like, thank God that I'm here, and thank God that I can freely live and freely express my religion. So it's an amazing feeling. I can't emphasize enough of that freedom that I experience here.
Is there a final thought you'd like to communicate to everyone about being a follower of Christ?
Yeah, definitely. What I went through, it's not like, oh, okay, she did it, now, she was special or anything. No, I was a teenager, just like as many of you. I had a random life, random family, and the only reason I was able to go through that troubles is because I knew God was with me, and I knew that I had to do something for him. So even though if I knew if they would kill me, I know what I was going to be, but thank God we don't have that persecution here. We have that freedom. But what do we do about that freedom here? Do we take it, just like sit down and stay home and like, oh, okay, I'm just going to go chill? Or we do something about it? We are called to be followers of Christ, and that's the commitment that we're making. And don't be afraid. Speak up. Don't be silent. Just do something about what God is doing in your life. And the God who did that for me, it's in each one of you guys. And you have that power. You have that freedom. And just do it. Just go for God, and he will bless you, and he will protect you, because we have the power to be able to face those troubles, and that power is way greater than all these pressures and troubles and problems that we're going through. So take it and go for it, because at the end of the day, it's God's glory and it's our victory. So take it and have fun, and it's all about God. So go for it.
What you do in this life echoes in eternity. Are you a wise person, or are you a fool? As we see from Renita's story, she stepped out. There were fears, there was legitimate terrors around, but she had established her life on the rock in Jesus. And she said, all else is sinking sand. I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to go after it. What is your foundation in? Is it in the rock, or is it in sand? You have been called to step out, to hear and to act, to get into the game, to be a player, to not just be a cheerleader on the sideline, to not just be someone in the grandstands. You're called to participate. And one of the ways that you can do that is through these microchurches. It's not the only way. It's not the only way you can be a follower of Christ. But why I'm so passionate about it is because this is an environment we can go through together, encourage each other together, to pursue Christ ourselves, and to step out and act on the words that Jesus said. I'm not saying that you have to do a microchurch to be a follower of Christ. But as a follower of Christ, you can be acting on Jesus' words by starting one of these, by being part of them. And so for those of you who have started them, I commend you for taking that first step, for taking some action on it. I'm going to ask Ruben, can you come up on the piano? Here's what I want to do with you guys. I want to call the microchurch leaders. If you have signed up for a microchurch and you have committed to doing that, I want to ask you to come up here with me. Come up here. So I know there's a handful of you guys. Irvin, all right. The rest of you, where are the rest of you guys at? There's There's a handful of them who aren't here. But here's who we have today. You guys have taken the call and said, you know what, I want to do something. I want to step out. I want to be a disciple of Christ. I want to make disciples with Jesus' command, go and make disciples of all nations. And so what we want to do right now is pray over you guys. That as you continue out, as you go into your schools, as you talk to your friends, we want to pray God's blessing over you as micro church pastors, because that's what you are. You're being pastors to your friends. We're going to call you micro pastors. And as micro pastors, we want to pray for you as you go into your world. So can I get the adult leaders to come up? We're going to lay hands on you. And for everyone else, would you pray with your friends who are up here? That as they lead these micro churches, as they are a pastor to their communities, we want to pray God's blessing over them. Heavenly Father, I lift up each of these students to you, that as they have committed to being a micro-pastor, of stepping out, of doing something, be with them, give them the encouragement, the strength, that though they will face fear, though there will be times when they feel like it's hard, they can't step out of the comfort zone, remind them of Renita's story, remind them that you are with them, that even when they are crushed, that is where you reign. May your grace and peace surround them so that they can go out and make disciples of all nations, that they can follow your words, that they can hear and act on it. We bless them, God.